Everyone. So just so you know, I look like I rolled out of bed. I look like who did it and ran today. I prefaced this in the international WhatsApp chat. You may also see me go off camera for a second, so you don't have to watch me blow my nose. My allergies are pissed off that I am in this dusty ass house. So disclaimers out of the way. I am really, as I say before every Zoom, really excited to talk about this because these were the topics I had brought up in the group chat, and I was kind of like polling you guys if which one you wanted to hear the most. And I was going to make these two topics two separate Zooms, but I feel like they go together so well. So what I'm going to need for you guys is some of you might just be listening in at work if you're one of our domestic clients and it's in the middle of your workday. But if you're able to, in the chat, if there's something that is standing out to you or something that it just connects with you or you want a little bit more elaboration, definitely add it in the chat because it helps these lessons get as in-depth as they can be. So today we are going to talk about, where are my notes? How to not feel behind all the time. Like you should be further than you are. Who here has felt that before? Where you get, you harp on yourself, like I should be farther than this. It should be easier. And it could be anything. It could be how you clean your house, how you attend school, work, how you care for your health, just in general. Who's felt like they're behind when it comes to, being where they're at in life in general? I definitely have. And honestly, I think the same quality that drives us, that drove you guys to apply, to go through my not easy screening process, to be on this Zoom now, is because you're the type of person who never wants to feel like you should be farther, like you're not doing everything you can to be as far as you can be. So going into this conversation, know that about yourself in general, is that we are hardwired typically. If this topic really connects with you, it's because we're the types of people who are always trying to avoid being behind, who always are striving to, like, can I do more? Can I do more? It's not a bad quality to have until it becomes disruptive. So, and until it affects your stress hormones, which we're all trying to take care of here. So first little tool I like to offer is the life expectancy reframe. So some of you guys, I don't remember if I talked about this specifically with any of you guys in here yet, but my favorite is the average global life expectancy. Now, mind you, it's really common for people to surpass this, but it's just the average global life expectancy is 72.8. So if you want Google in your international Zooms or Google in your respective country what your average life expectancy is, then I want you to divide the amount of years you've lived already into that. And what you'll get is the amount of lifetimes that you have left to repeat what you've done with the information you've acquired in a lifetime already. Now, if you're like, well, I don't even have more than one lifetime live or two, I mean, everybody here is different ages, but my point remains is that it's a lot more time than we remember. And that's only to the life expectancy. Again, people surpass that a lot of times. So it's like at the minimal case, and granted, none of us know, and this might be dark, but I'm real. Any of us could get hit by a bus tomorrow, right? So we all are just trying our best here. This is not meaning that this is how much time you have. None of us know exactly how much time we have, especially not in this crazy ass world, but if we are just going by logistics, we get so caught up in what time has passed and what time we are in right now. And maybe we got another, maybe we're a little caught up in the next day or two of what our life is going to be. And a lot of times we'll say, well, I can't think of next year or 10 years from now because I don't know what the hell is going to happen. You're absolutely right. You don't. So how could you be behind? Where did we ever get this time frame? Because other people at a certain point in life, there are so many variables that go into that. Health, upbringing, geographical location, history. There are a million reasons why someone is at a certain point in their life in anything, and why someone is at a different point at a certain point in their life. Nothing. There is no common denominator there that should make everybody on the same track. So if you're thinking about this, all the lifetimes that you have left, all the time you have left, I should say, what are you guys thinking as you hear this? Is it impactful? You know, if you take the average life expectancy, global life expectancy of 72.8, you divide how much time you've been here into that. That's how many of the lifetimes you've already lived you have left to go. But you're armed with a lifetime of knowledge already. What does that mean to you? Where's my water bottle? Seeing all my classmates from high school graduate college years before I did. Okay, this is a good one. I like to talk about this one. So I often talk about how I was like pretty much a mess growing up, right? There's a lot of trauma that happened there. There was a whole lot of stuff, undiagnosed learning disabilities, you know, and it made it very difficult for me. I have auditory processing disorder, I have dyscalculia, and I have ADHD. And I was kind of just, everyone just told me I was too much growing up. Oh, and I have OCD. Let's not leave that one out too, because that impacts studies greatly. And I remember, like, I've always been a driven person. That is always, I guess, the chip on my shoulder is to find some way to prove myself in some other way, and whatever it was that I wasn't good at. So I remember I tried to, you know, I was really good at art. So I wanted to go to art school. I worked my ass off. I was in the honors art society in my high school, did studio art, all that, compiled a portfolio, shopped it around to a bunch of the different universities that were really good art schools here. Got accepted, pre-accepted to a couple, got my whole portfolio stolen. Like, they left the case and took all of the artwork out of it. I don't know who did it. It was in my art teacher's like closet in her classroom, completely empty one day. So then I was like, okay, well, I've always wanted to take care of people. I've always been obsessive about my health. I've always been obsessive about, no, I don't mean healthy obsessive, but interested, I should say. I knew this about myself, that I had to be in something that I was interested in order to freaking stick to it. Just is what it is. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to school. I'm just going to get the basics done the first year, and then maybe I'll become a doctor. You know, why not? Couldn't go to art school. Let me just go be a doctor, right? So I fumbled around in college because I didn't know how to ask for support. I had rampant learning disabilities that I didn't even know existed. I had OCD, which I didn't know existed. I was commuting to a campus that was massive every day and having panic attacks that were debilitating. Like, I literally one time had someone ask if I was okay because I had my hood over my head and I was just sobbing in the community center by myself. Awful, because I couldn't absorb anything. I would go to school. I would go there an hour early. So I could find parking, so I could be relaxed. So I would try everything to be in the perfect mindset to do this, right? I would get the first seat in the front, no matter how anxious I was. I would try to record the lessons, like put it on my phone, you know, like I would try to do everything I could to absorb and just think like a person, right? Couldn't, didn't know why. Obviously now I know why. So I decided, after really pushing myself through it and in debt and putting myself into debt for 3 years. And I was at the point where I was like, I guess I have to look at the MCATs, like the exams to get into med school now. And like my grades, I was freaking out about them. I was avoiding class at that point. And I remember deciding I was going to go to culinary school. And all of the guilt that came with that, because I was like, I'm going to look like a fool. Like I'm going to look like a hack. Like, what are people going to think of me? It was just so much, you know, everybody else my age was a year away from graduating. So everybody else my age, they knew what they wanted to do. They were on track. They were somehow able to complete homework assignments, to make it to tests, to not have panic attacks that completely made them forget everything they spent studying the whole night prior, you know, like all of these things. And here I was like, I guess I'm going to go learn how to bake. That wasn't it. I wanted to go learn how to make allergen safe pastries. Lo and behold, it helps me a lot these days, you know, but at the time I felt like I'm starting over. I have no time to do this. I can't believe I'm going to be on such a so then I had friends who wanted to get their masters. My sibling went and got their masters. You know, they're applying for their doctorate now. And my siblings 20, oh my God, I'm so bad with it, 23, 24. At that point, I was still like, what am I doing with my life? I'm working at a bakery for no money and I hate my life, you know? So my point is now we're talking. You know, now I have a staff, I have international clients. My husband runs the business with me. We're home every day. I know this sounds, I feel like an MLM person saying this, but like truly, you guys know it's legit. My point is, this path was not forged knowing about it years ago. Okay, I've been in business for a few years. This path was not forged during my college years when we're told we should know and be following a certain time frame and be matched up with everybody and doing the right thing all the time. But it doesn't mean that even though it's not without its stresses, it can't be a good thing that it's so different. This whole idea that everybody should be on the same time frame only caters to people that are okay doing the same thing. And if you're not, if you are someone that's okay doing the same thing as everyone else, great. But if you're not, that's not the incorrect way or the losing way to do things. That's just the different way to do things. And it's hard being the one to say that in society and not seem like you're just making excuses for yourself. But truly, what's the alternative? Stress, feel bad, hurt your health, and still feel behind? I'm sure you guys are a lot farther ahead than a lot of other people. Not that that matters, your feelings are valid, but I'm sure on the same token, somebody else could look at where you are in life and find some quality that they feel they're not there yet with. And you'd probably be like, what do you mean? I'm a mess, right? But it's all perspective. All of it is perspective. It's how it's framed to us in our own minds. So if we're the gatekeepers of that, then why do we want to feel behind? Because that will never boost morale enough to get ahead. Nobody like gets that oomph to really go for it just because like they're like, I am so shitty, I really got to get ahead. That's not how emotions work. Motivation doesn't work out of negativity. So if you feel you're behind, you're already making it harder on yourself to, it's like swimming upstream. So thoughts as you're hearing this. Let's see. Put things into perspective a bit more when I feel like I'm not as far as I should be. Needed this today. Woo! 2.8 lifetimes to go. Yeah, so relating to this a lot, working on diagnosing undiagnosed learning disabilities now that I'm in grad school. It's tough. Like I cried so much when I was first diagnosed because I was like such a relief. It was like, oh my God, there's a reason. Like like I'm not just an idiot. I just can't like figure it out, you know? It's important. I love hearing this right now. It's very relatable. I feel like after getting real sick, after I chose my major, I realized that my original plan maybe isn't for me, but choosing a different path scares me for same reasons you talk about. Yeah, absolutely. I was terrified too, right? I was like, what if this fails? And I look like a biggest jackass. Like I left school, I didn't get that degree, I wasted all that time. I went to culinary school. Like what a floozy of a person, right? No. Why? Because other people would think that, which we'll get to. You know, that was the whole reason I felt that way. I realized that I lived my entire life trying to tiptoe around what other people expected of me. Some that they voiced and some that they didn't. And I just put in my own head that they expected it of me. But I wasn't calling the shots in my own life, and I was the one that's going to have to live it. It's a really big realization. You know, I didn't know what the hell to do with this realization at the time, by the way. I'm just saying that it was important that I realized that. Honestly, I feel like into what society wanted and just rode an academic wave the entire time and did everything without really stopping and thinking, wait, what do I actually want? It's only in this last year that I feel I'm starting on a path that I am meant to be on. Yeah. But no, 100%. I brought this conversation up to some of my other friends who have graduated. They're in, they have career paths that they're on. They're living the classic timeline: engaged at a certain time, married at a certain time, kids at a certain time, the whole thing at a certain time, right? And the one thing I realized amongst them, and I'm not saying that they're unhappy necessarily. I'm just saying that there are people we're all so different, and our levels of wants, happiness, what makes us content, all of those things vary. So having a time frame for everybody, despite those variables, is a recipe for feeling disappointed in yourself all the time. But those friends, the number one thing I realized is even if they weren't unhappy, there wasn't a whole lot of passion or distinction or focus. It was just living. It's what they did. It's just what they did to live, to get by, to pay their bills, to move on, adult life. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's just also nothing wrong with if that's not what you're suited for or what makes you feel the best. So don't put a time frame on yourself, is what I mean. The only time frame that should exist is the one that is what you are living in. Sometimes the easy things are hard for me, but then I can also do hard things. Very, very relatable. Yeah. Oh my God. Don't worry about it. If it's like something super complicated that everyone else is like, oh my God, what do I do? That's my time to shine. Don't worry. I'll come in and put everyone's fires out. But you know, little things that should just be not even requiring effort, quirks, mind you, like if you will. Those are the things that require effort. We're all so different. We all have different brains and different lives and experiences and everything. So the other thing, I see your comment there. I'm gonna get back to that 1 second. The other thing for this point here is a lot of times the disappointment factor comes in. What if I'm a disappointment? I remember the only time I've ever seen my father sob, like fell to the ground. It was really melodramatic, to be honest, but like fell to the ground sobbing, was when I said I was dropping out to go to culinary school. And his response was, I'm the only one with a kid who's not going to graduate. So disappointing others. And it's not, I don't take it personally. At the time, I very much did. But like now through enough therapy and stuff, I'm at the point where I can realize and say, like, he was feeling those emotions because it was really terrifying to him for his own friggin' reasons. That like maybe he thought he failed me. Maybe he thought he was going to look like a failure in the eyes of his family. Whatever not great but still valid reason it exists. It was not a reason that I had to define the rest of my life for. His disappointment was not my responsibility. It made it really freaking hard, let me tell you. That was a lot. But how many times have you guys felt like you do something or you feel like you're behind on something or you're just not doing good enough because you're really afraid of other people not being pleased with the outcome in some way? I know I definitely just living up to standards, living up to what people wanted from me, you know? But here's the thing. This is a bold point I'm going to make. And if you have narcissistic family, this is something for us to talk about deeper because this could go on forever. But disappointment never kills anyone. It's not lethal. Everyone's going to be fine. Everyone. Let me tell you, my father wasn't dropping on the floor and crying when I was bringing him home chocolate croissants from the French Culinary Institute every freaking night, you know? Moved on. So if you feel like you are behind because and that fear of needing to get ahead is like you want to avoid disappointing people or people having a low opinion of you, and especially if it's family. Remember, I wrote this more eloquently than I'll say it right now. Just be honest about what you want and be unapologetic about others not having to understand it. Sounds super easy, right? Took a lot of time to get that concept. Like it makes sense, but then to really accept it and live by it takes more time. But if someone holds their own expectations of who you should be higher than your well-being or own personal happiness, their disappointment is their problem. So if someone holds their own expectations of who you should be higher than your own happiness or mental well-being, that's their own problem. They're taking that on themselves. That is the risk. The risk that they are incurring by choosing to do that is that they will be disappointed. but it doesn't mean that it now becomes your duty to help them avoid that disappointment. What do you guys think about that? Not always easy to put into play when you know, especially like I said, with family. And nothing I'm saying means you have to cut people out or tell them off or have a fight or whatever. It's just for your own, like, log it away and remember it kind of thing. Is that when you're feeling behind and you're feeling that anxiety, take a deep breath. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. I literally forget to breathe when I'm anxious, but take a deep breath, maybe do an unbracing exercise. We can do one before we log off today if you want to recap. You know, and just remind yourself and say, okay, what are my intentions? I'm feeling behind, but what do I want? How do I do it? Which will bring me to the next point. But how is this connecting with you guys? What do you find the most helpful out of this? And how do you feel like maybe you could use this in your day to day? I've been open with some friends about my anxiety struggles, and they've been so kind and have offered to help. Oh, it's almost like a filter for the people who are great friends. Absolutely. This has been a huge theme tonight, actually, on the Zoom. What we're going to be discussing is outgrowing people. So that's a good one. It's really weird. I had a tiff with a longtime friend yesterday that was kind of the same theme of, you know, people who aren't understanding. I've had 3 clients today text me saying they've had the same situation happen with either friends or family, like last night. Like, someone tell me, I know this is an international Zoom. You guys don't like all this star shit, as we have established. But like, is there something happening? Because it's been such a theme over the last day that I'm like, this is weird. So tonight we're going to talk about outgrowing people, but absolutely, like, really unapologetically supporting yourself and accepting yourself is a sifter, and it sifts out the people who are going to be the people who take from you emotionally and don't reciprocate that back by not accepting you. Why would you want them? Again, I'm not saying like sift out your moms, you know, but like I'm just saying, like, mentally think about that, especially with friends. You don't have any obligation to keep people in your life who don't strive to make you feel as calm and good as you do for them. That's just a common courtesy, right? You hear a friend is suffering, you support them. You know, if anyone is going to be dismissive, non-existent, or whatever, they're letting you know. They're clearing out the room, right? For the people who hold the standard of friendship you have. So let's see what else I want to catch up here too. Great in crisis, can't figure out how to manage every day. It's not that you can't figure out how to manage every day, you're learning how to manage every day. That was a big tip for me. I had to reframe that in my head all the time, because OCD, I would repeat the same, like, why can't I get it together? I don't know, why can't I? There's no evidence of that. I'm just learning. I just don't know how to yet. We learn a lot of things we don't know how to do, right? And it's always scary in the beginning. I'm always afraid to disappoint, especially when so many people have expressed high hopes for me, and then I just quit things. Yeah, but think about it. I get it, because part of ADHD, you get really into things and like really passionate about it, and then you lose interest and you're not so passionate about it. And I hated that for a really long time. I was really embarrassed about it. You know, like, look at the soap. Who remembers here when I wanted to make soaps? I still do. I just bought a house, so like that got backburnered. You know how many people were like, I thought you were going to make soaps, you know? And I was just like, yeah, I was. And then it wasn't worth my time, so I didn't. You know, like, that's what I mean, is disappointment. If someone's disappointed because you change your path a million times, what the hell skin is it off their back? What do they give a shit? If they're going to be around just criticizing you, then maybe let them go so they can find a hobby that makes them feel better. I don't know. Like, you know, it's not your fault that you're trying to find your path in life and they want you to stay on one. Are they going to come with you to work? Are they going to snuggle up with you in bed and listen to you vent at the end of the night? No. So their disappointment will fade, but when they leave the conversation, they'll probably be bitching about something else right after. It's never as serious as we think it is. Just people are very good at, I don't know, it's intentional, sometimes it's unintentional, sometimes, but people can be very manipulative. But none of it's real. They'll be fine. And if they're not, they could go to therapy. That's my favorite. True, because it's true. I don't mean it as a quip. Like, I don't mean it to be a clap back, like go to therapy. I mean it for real. Like, if someone else is so devastated by you choosing a different path in life that makes you feel better, they should go to therapy so they don't have to feel so bad. But it doesn't mean you have to change your life path so that they don't feel bad. That's not how that works. I've basically lived my whole life feeling the pressure of what my parents would think of me. They never pushed me in any way, but I put that pressure on myself. Absolutely. But we also look at, humans are so intelligent in that, every time I say that these days, I feel like I have to give a disclaimer, but in general, humans can pick up positive reinforcement, and also, I don't know the right terminology for it, but they could see someone else, like the people they love, react to something else and then say, well, I want to be the opposite of that. I want to avoid that because I don't want them to react that way towards me. And then we can just hyper add things on and try to, make sure we never are like that, when really they wouldn't even think that necessarily. It's just extra pressure we put on ourselves. So much happier without the stress of one-sided friendship. Yeah, I was dealing with that last night with my own friendship. Like I was saying, it's freaking weird, but we outgrow friendships. Okay, point number 2, data. All right, language warning here. Don't let a fuck up be free. What do you guys hear? What does it mean to you? Tell me in the chat when I say, don't let a fuck up be free. What does it mean to you? Don't let a fuck up be free. But it's kind of like the principle of like, don't let something live in your head rent free. You know what I mean? Boom, learning from it. Take something, take value from it. Get data from it, get input from it, get something to use. And this could be a binge. This could be, getting triggered by the narcissist you've been ignoring for 6 months. And then all of a sudden you texted them asking them to see where you're coming from. And you're like, why did I get roped into that? Whether it's just whatever the hell it means. If you feel you fucked up in any way, there is the most useless thing in the world, while being natural, is to harp on yourself for it. It happened. It's done. Everything has been, the cards are on the table. So feeling your feelings and your emotions can be a separate thing than bashing yourself for it. So you fucked up, right? That's out of the way. That's done. Sitting there and being like, I'm never going to get better. This is always going to be the case, blah, blah, blah. While that might be a natural emotional response in the moment, we all vent that way. That's all just, it doesn't mean it's fact. As you've known, as you've seen, you have in fact lived to see another day after fucking up in the past. We've all done it. So in the moment, let yourself feel your feelings, refer to the stop, drop, and roll Zoom, because I, especially in this house, have been living by stop, drop, and roll. And then once you're at a point where you're not feeling like emotionally burdened by it, try to sit down and analyze it. What led up to it? What set me back? What can I now see was a red flag? What could I maybe try to do different? It doesn't mean it has to work. I bring up the Dyson example all the time, and I always forget what the number is. Hold on. Dyscalculia. I always fuck up this number. So Dyson, everyone knows Dyson, right? The vacuum / jet company that, it's like the big ostentatious looking vacuum that has a ball in it. And it's like more money for some reason than any others and doesn't have that greatest suction or battery life. Just saying. Make great fans though. But they had, guess how many failed prototypes? For those of you who haven't heard this example before. Come on, just load. How many times do you think Dyson had their first failed prototype? There we go. Before they were able to, I don't know, start producing and selling. Just in the development. 700. Oh, nope. Higher than that. 5,126 failed prototypes before the first one worked. And now they are a multi-billion-dollar a year company. Now, this isn't always a practical example. You know, they had financial backers. It was a whole big formal process. Nobody was just out there tinkering around in their yard with a fucking Dyson trying to make it work, right? But if you look at the basics of that, what it does tell you is you're not stuck, right? You can do something, have the best intentions, mess up, look at it, say, what should I try to tweak? Do it again, mess up, get even more information. What should I do to tweak? And so on until you get that one prototype that just works. The difference is, I don't know. Sometimes you're going to want to just like, I'm trying to think about it with food. And I don't know that 100% makes sense with food. Because I never not want to eat flan if it's presented to me. So, but anyway, do you guys see my point with this? When it comes to collecting the data from mess ups and looking inward, looking at yourself, not because you're bad and you should avoid it, but because it gives you such valuable information. One of my favorite things is when people say, well, this is how I've always been. I know I want to do that, but I know myself and I know I'm going to do this. And then when I say, what data can you get from what you've how you messed up? They're like, I don't know. It sounds like you have a lot of ways to collect data. It just sounds like you want to, be mad at yourself instead because it's safer. Who can relate to that? I know I certainly can. Ugh. Okay, Nick just texted me. If you guys hear, it sounds like something's eating my house. They just decided to come pick up the leaves, and for some reason, it is the loudest service I've ever. Like all they're doing is putting leaves into the truck. But I don't know if you can hear that. I'm terribly sorry. So, when it comes to collecting the data from a mess up, you might say, well, how can that sounds great and all, but how do I put that into practice? Let's pick a baby step with that. And the next time that you feel behind on anything, collect the data. Why are you feeling behind? What has made you feel behind? What could make it better? Let's see what I still have this freaking Dyson stuff pulled up. Okay, so what led up to it? This is my favorite question. What helped it happen? So if you mess up, what helped it happen? What did you learn about yourself? And sometimes that'll be how, I learned how I responded. I learned how not to respond. I learned that I'm triggered by this. It's not always great stuff you learn, but it's valuable stuff you learn. It's stuff that you can carry into the next situation. And instead of feeling like I have no control, I just act this way, you can now say X, Y, and Z are happening. So how do I want to respond? Take some time, but to get to that point, you got to learn about yourself first. And it might be really scary when you're really used to not liking yourself too much and trying to avoid yourself. But I promise you, if you try to get to know yourself, you're going to like what you see a lot more than what you're running away from all the freaking time. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that you guys have some good points to think about and use and take inwards. And most of all, I hope that this can encourage some dialogue between you and your coach, whether it's Sophie or Meryl, that you're able to just feel like this gave you some validation. because none of us are perfect. There is no perfect timing, and none of us are hopeless either. Got lots of time left, right? So let us know how we can support you best in utilizing that time, and enjoy the rest of your days, evenings, from wherever you're tuning in from. All right. So bye.